This is the Impunity Observer monthly live stream. Fergus Hodgson, your host. We are a geopolitical intelligence service. ImpunityObserver.com is the website. If you've not already, please follow us on all our social media streams. I especially like Telegram and get our monthly e-newsletter. We are discussing today the outcome of the Argentine elections, which were yesterday, Sunday, and we have two great gentlemen. I'm just honored to have them with us today. Eduardo Marty, who is the founder of the Foundation for Intellectual Integrity, or maybe he wants to clarify that particularly the organization. Responsibility, intellectual responsibility, or free, FRI. And Adam Dubove is a financial analyst and publisher based in based in Buenos Aires. So there are two main questions I want to address today. One is, how on earth did this happen? So, spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen, Javier Milei has won under the Freedom Advances or Liberty Advances coalition and beaten Sergio Massa of the Peronista faction, you might say. And then what exactly will happen? Because we're all, let's say, excited that there will be the end of the peso, the Argentine peso. There will be maybe a defanging of the Peronista legacy and then opening up for trade and investment. So, Adam, we spoke, I don't know, 1 month ago, I guess, or before the runoff. Do you want to clarify what changed between then and now to give such a decisive victory, winning by more than 10 points, 10 percentage points?
Well, yes, it's been a long month, the last month of campaign here before the second round. On one hand, there was one of the advantages for Javier Milei is that the opposition vote was split between Javier Milei's the Liberty Advances and the more traditional and conservative / social democratic opposition of Juntos por el Cambio, which governed from 2015 to 2019. Yes. So Javier Milei was able to attract almost every vote that was put forward for the traditional for Juntos por el Cambio, and he also attracted the vote of another opposition candidate called Schiaretti, who was more of a local candidate with a strong following in Córdoba province. And these two factors made Milei being able to overcome the strong Peronist opposition.
Right. Do you want to clarify too, Eduardo? And we haven't seen each other for a year. It's been like I said, it's an emotional day for me seeing two of my good old friends from Argentina. But Edu, what changed between the initial election or the election with a variety of candidates and the runoff? Because watching from abroad, it seemed like there was a great deal of, let's say, a decline in optimism in Milei after that initial round leading to the runoff, and then suddenly something changed. Was there any kind of event that catalyzed a change?
Well, I think to give you some context, I think that Rainer Sittelmann, a German guy, wrote a paper today trying to explain the victory of Milei, and what he's saying that what really changed in Argentina, not today, but for the last 20 years, was the attitude towards free markets and capitalism. And that's not by chance. Everything began when Venegas Lynch's father went to the States and he got in touch with Ronald Reagan, and he replicated Foundation for Economic Education in Argentina, Centro de Estudios sobre la Libertad. He sent people, his son Alberto and Loncan and some other ones, to study there, to participate in different seminars. Alberto created SEADE. He took place at the University of Buenos Aires. And Venegas Lynch's father sent 10 of us to study at Grove City with Senholz, Austrian economics. So when we came back, we started to teach Austrian economics, and we did that job for 20 years. So that's the base. That's la siembra. I don't know how you say that. Maybe, Adam, you can help me. We were just cultivating the land for this to happen. So I think that the youth in Argentina changed their opinions towards free markets and capitalism, and that's around 20-25% of the population. So Milei got those votes, 30%, in the first election. The conservatives, that, as Adam explained before, they were with Macri and with Patricia Bullrich. This is a mix of nationalism with pro-free market attitudes, but more like social democrats. But
Yes.
when they govern, they fail. They fail badly. That's why the Peronists returned to the country. So now I think they learned the lesson. And when they had to choose, the next day of losing, after losing the election, they went to really make peace with Milei and giving him total support. And that's credit for Mr. Macri. He proved to be a man of state. And when he had to choose and to support the right side of the equation, he did it for Macri.
Interesting. Yeah. So you say Mauricio Macri behaved as a statesman and was, let's say, a good loser. He did not get bitter or seek to undermine Milei. And even though, as you say, Macri himself had largely a failed administration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. You know, I want to read an important quote that I saw last night from Alvaro Vargas Llosa, although it's in Spanish. So I'll put it up in both Spanish and English. And the gist of it, gosh, where the heck do I do this share screen thing? I did this before. Mulder, you're gonna have to help me out with this one. But so basically, Alvaro Vargas Llosa is the son of Mario Vargas Llosa, a prominent Peruvian intellectual, and his son now lives in the United States, but obviously writes and travels through Latin America all the time. And his basic statement was that this is one of the great news items that Latin America has produced in recent years, right? It really is a profound development that Milei won, and he's saying that this can go one of two ways, though. If he fights and succeeds, it will create immense, let's say, opportunity and almost a more vibrant Argentina, a real rebirth or liberalization. However, if he fails and, let's say, has more of a Macri performance, he'll actually leave a bitter taste in the mouth regarding what is the, neoliberalism, or all these negative connotations of markets. Now, okay, Adam, I'll go take you first and then go to Eduardo. Do you want to give any prognosis as to which way we will go? Will it be a mixture of the two?
Well, I heard many libertarians say particularly these, that they were a bit afraid of Milei's victory, because if Milei would fail, then all the libertarian ideas would be tainted because of his bad government. My opinion is that if you look at the Congress and how the Congress is composed right now after the election, Milei will have to negotiate with some of which was the opposition, the former opposition, which is thought to be an ally of Milei. But they will have to negotiate and try to reach agreements in order to move forward all the ideas that he has been proposing. Although I think that what Milei has that Macri didn't have is that a strong fundamentals and strong principles and a more clear view on where is he heading at. And this is not like important for Argentina and for the libertarian ideas in Argentina, but I'm also start seeing a lot of libertarians around the world embracing Milei as one of their own. So this could have an impact beyond Argentina's borders. And if Milei does a successful government, then this could invigorate all the libertarian movements around at least the Americas.
Right. Okay. Do you want to comment on that too, Eduardo, about the likelihood of this actually being somewhat of a success?
Well, I think that in order for you to be successful, you need to develop several qualities of character. Yes. I think that undoubtedly Milei has some of them, and probably lack a couple of them too. But I think that the expectation for him to be successful are pretty good. The chances to be successful are open, and he has the energy and the youth to really be very energetic trying to promote the policies. I think that in general, his economic points of view are good. The idea of closing the central bank, allowing competition of currencies, he's in favor of dollarization. We in general think that that's another fiat money. And of course, it's always better than the pesos, but in the long run, is not going to be a real solution. We would like better gold or bitcoins, but still, I think that is for the moment, with an hyperinflation running probably at 300% soon. So I think it's a great idea and will contribute to stabilize the country. Cut taxes. We had 167. The idea of just leaving 8, 10 taxes with the lower aliquota and to pay less. The idea of just not indebting the country anymore. The idea of reforming the labor laws to allow people to get into the formal markets. And I think the open trade and to compete with the world, all those ideas are good. So if he find the team to go with him with principles, of course, he will be facing a very, very difficult reality and a lot of opposition. This is going to be a jungle. But he looks like having the courage to face all that and to be able to succeed. That's what I think.
Yeah, actually, I'll just stay with you, Eduardo. You really believe in, let's say, the merits of building the intellectual foundation in the country, the right climate of thinking. And do you want to comment then, just expand in a little bit on Milei's actual understanding of classical liberalism?
Well, Victor Hugo used to say that when the proper time comes, ideas rule the world. So if an idea has enough impact on people, you will not be able to stop them. So I think that Milei got in touch with Venegas Lynch. He read Fundamentos de Análisis Económico. He read Man, Economy and the State. He read a little bit of Mises Essentials. And,
Yes.
And I gave him Stephen Hicks explaining postmodernism from Rousseau to Foucault. I don't think he read it, but he was open and interested.
Yeah. Okay.
He read a little bit of Rand here and there, some chapters of The Virtue of Selfishness. I don't know if he digests them properly, but I think that some sentences he pronounced are very close to those. So I think that he's much better than Trump. He's in favor of free trade. He's much better than Bolsonaro from an intellectual point of view. He's very irritable. I don't know. He's like
irritable. He's got a short mal temperamento, bad temper.
Right. So I don't know how he will behave in power, but I think he understands basic principles of liberalism, division of powers, and he's in favor of Republican democracy. So I think that he has some knowledge of Jefferson and Franklin, and so I don't know how deep his knowledge is, but he's very enthusiastic. So unless the opposition and the Social Democrats start to wash his brain, I hope that his determination in favor of freedom will really help to transform Argentina, attract investments, and just make this country a country that deserves, that you're happy to live with. It has not been easy lately.
Yes, look, there's so much to say there, and Eduardo, like I said, I'm so pleased to have you here, and I'm putting up a screenshot now of your organization, the Foundation for Intellectual Responsibility. And I put the link in the comments on YouTube here. It is frilatam.org. That's the website to go to. And I've also put up the book that he mentioned, and I have a copy of this and the audio version. Stephen Hicks is a great intellectual. I've met him before. He's given presentations in Argentina that is explaining postmodernism, skepticism, and socialism from Rousseau to Foucault. And Adam, do you want to add any comment to Eduardo's assessment of Milei's actual intellectual foundation? I mean, I agree that maybe Trump and Bolsonaro are not high bars to surpass, but do you want to say add to Eduardo's assessment there?
No, in general terms, I'd agree with what Eduardo said. I could add that there is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I can add maybe one of the less attractive sides of Milei is that while he has these strong foundations based on Austrian economics authors, libertarian authors, etc., he's also very prone to absorb ideas of those who surround him. And I'm not saying that these ideas are completely anti-libertarian, but they are not like classical liberal ideas. So in the last years, Milei has been surrounded by more of a traditional conservative nationalist wing, which was essential for him to get the victory, because a lot of people voted Milei without being libertarian, and because they liked their affinity with this figure, the vice president I'm talking about, which
Yes.
is not strictly libertarian. But besides that, and if those ideas are kept on the margin, there are fringe ideas in the general thought of Milei, then I'm not that worried. I would be worried if they try to gain more influence in the government, but up to this point, I don't see any factor to be concerned about.
Right, and listeners, I've also placed Adam's organization, Ichimoku Fibonacci.
Yeah.
So the link tree is in the comments, and I'm just showing his website here, a financial newsletter, and you offer all sorts of services there. So last time we were discussing maybe you exiting Argentina, maybe you'll hang in there a bit longer.
Yes, probably I'm making a change of mind.
Very good, mate. I'm glad to hear that. Now, Steve Hanke, one of the top or most prominent economists in the United States, has been writing aggressively or just very energetically in the lead up to this election, saying how dollarization can happen. And I agree with you, Eduardo. The dollar is, of course, another fiat currency. It's not ideal. But when you've got 300% inflation, I mean, what are you going to do? So it's maybe a quick fix. It's not a long-term ideal fix. And do you know? So Eduardo, I'll go with you on this one. Do you know whether any experts are coming in to make this swift change to the closure of the central bank? Because it's not like you can just click your fingers. There's got to be some kind of, let's say, orderly process here.
Well, Agustín Echevarne, Libertad y Progreso, is advising him a lot on the financial issues. Yes. His stepbrother, Ocampo, is helping. He wrote a book with Kachanowski, the son of Juan Carlos Kachanowski.
Yes.
About dollarization and how to do it and how to implement it. So they have a plan to allow dollars to just as local currency here, competing with the pesos at the same time. So legal tender will not be an issue anymore, and allowing just to operations in dollars. So he is planning to buy the pesos, the central bank in the but of course you need dollars. And at the same time, the central bank is in debt, and they also issue LELIQs that are just a kind of treasury bond, but not from the treasury, from the central bank. And that's a lot of money. So the only way they have treasury bonds that they could try to convert in dollars, but you need credibility because they are, the rate right now, I think, is 10% or 14%. So if they can do that, I think they will get some dollars and to transform the Argentinian economy, and little by little to absorb the pesos and to leave the central bank on a kind of dollar standard. Once that is done, I think that I don't know if the central bank will disappear, but his role is going to be very secondary, and because it's not going to be operating anymore, issuing money, whatever. I think that that's the case. I'm sure that Adam could add more on this. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, I had the honor 2 weeks ago to meet Lawrence White at the Bitcoin conference here, and
Wow.
I could exchange some words with him. And while he is not helping the government, or the future government right now, he told me
Yes.
about that he would come to Argentina a lot in the 90s to help and contribute with I think it was Domingo Cavallo at the time, the Minister of Economy.
Okay.
But he was very enthusiastic about closing the central bank and allowing currencies, at least fiat currencies, to compete freely in the country.
How swiftly do you think this will take place?
What they were saying about 1 year or two, but
Right.
they are just trying to copy what, in a way, Ecuador and Panama were doing, and
Yeah.
El Salvador too. So it's not going. They don't want to put a final date for the pesos. So they want the people just voluntarily to adopt the dollar for their daily transactions. And so once they see the real price of the market of the dollar in the markets, they will start absorbing those pesos. But first, of course, they need dollars to buy them. So they don't have a strict calendar, but I think they will start the first day to allowing transactions in dollars and closing the cepo. Right now, if you sell $1 to the Argentinian banks, they pay you 350, and the real price of the market is close to 1,000. So nobody does it. That's why now the export guys are getting 350 for their exports. So instead of 1,000, the stealing is fantastic. It's a tremendous rate. So that explains why Argentina lack of dollars, right, is terrible.
Yeah, I felt this myself, actually, Eduardo. Years ago, when I was just trying to get a ferry across to Uruguay, I had cash, but because I was a foreigner, they refused to let me pay with cash. I had to pay with a foreign credit card so they could rob me and charge me the official rate, and I would pay 3 times the price or something like that. Now, so they're getting almost like a 2/3 tax on that transaction. Now, years ago, Eduardo, we were also at a country club near Buenos Aires, and it was a lovely occasion with I'm sure some barbecued beef, and then one of your relatives said to me, Fergus, can this happen? Can a widespread market liberalization happen in Argentina? And at the time, I was, let's say, a little bit pessimistic, because I know that there are these very powerful unions, and I was living in Neuquén in Patagonia, and basically there were the fanciest buildings were the union buildings. I'm not making this up. And I was thinking, this is where all the petroleros, the petroleum workers, their money, some of it is going to them, but a lot of it is going to the union. What will they do to, let's say, derail or block this process?
Well, the main strength of the unions is the money they're receiving. There is a law that forces every worker to pay a commission to the unions for them to give them free medicine. It's a kind of agreement they reached during the military age. So the main source of funding for the unions, and that's why they are so powerful, is that law. So Milei has a fantastic card there to play if he is a good threat. And unless you collaborate, or unless I will cut all your funds, because I will allow employees to use the money they want to do. Of course, that would be the goal, something that should be done, but at least, and the other solution is to face them. You remember Margaret Thatcher with the carbon guys in England.
The coal miners,
coal, and Ronald Reagan with aviation. So unless you are ready to fight the battle for liberalization, don't want to become a president. I think that's that you really need to be ready for the battle.
Yeah. Adam, do you want to comment? Yeah, because I just know that these people are not afraid to block roads, for example. I mean, that's almost trivial in their,
block roads would be like the least thing they could do. And this is a point that we haven't mentioned yet, which is the physical resistance that Milei's government could face. And we've seen this in Macri's government, where they were discussing in Congress pension reform, and they threw, like, they say it was about 40 tons of rocks towards the police and towards the building because of their protesting. So we're going to start to see a lot of news coming from Argentina of violent demonstrations, and there will be some turmoil and riots, and that's unavoidable because all these organizations that have been fed by the state over the last 20 years, including unions, social organizations, and government-run companies, unions and associations of writers, artists, and all the artistic sector, they are very entrenched in the government and receiving these government handouts. So they won't give up their privileges peacefully. They will resist. They will try to paint this government as a human rights violator government, no matter what they do. So these are, prior accusations before the fact, and doesn't matter because rationality and logic is not their battleground. Their battleground is force, violence, and imposition of the mightiest.
Yeah, intimidation, and that's the problem. And I want to finish off with let's say, a discussion of the mentality, because my concern is these people have an incredible entitlement mentality, right? Mm-hmm. And they will throw like a child's tantrum if they don't get their way, right? They'll just start, like you said, literally throwing rocks because they're not getting their way, right? And however, and I know, Eduardo, maybe you want to talk about, I'm sure let's say the intellectual battle is even more fierce now than ever. Will any of these syndicalistas or union members or advocates actually think, maybe this is the right way to go? Is there any chance to actually reform them mentally? They'll see the fruits of let's say, more investment, because I hate to say this, but I look at the outskirts of some of Buenos Aires and I think it's just tragic to see the poverty that is entrenched in the city and the broader country that doesn't have to be there. I'm here in Ireland right now, and I was discussing this election with locals and saying, well, Argentina, let's say, has the potential that is unrealized. So what do you want to discuss the dynamics of the ideological battle in the heat of the moment right now?
Well, you have two intellectuals that explain this very well. One was Antonio Escotado, a Spanish guy who died, I think, a couple of years ago, and he explained the importance of ideology, especially the Catholic Church. The other one is Loris Sanata, a Bolognese from Italy, who also explained the mentality, the Jesuit mentality, the idea of poverty, the ideal of redistribution of wealth, social justice, equality, and the idea of necessity creates rights, so they create pseudo rights. So all those ideas have been indoctrinated into the Argentinian population for the last 100 years. So what is a miracle is that the youth really catch some here and there sentences from libertarians around the world. The social network really helped a lot. And I think our work for 50 years, teaching and explaining, really gave its fruits. So I don't know how well absorbed are all those concepts. I think that there is some enthusiasm to change the country. And what is also helping is the inflation rate, regulation, poverty, all what you described. So people really want a change. Now, when we start to implement the changes, how are they going to react? I don't know. I think that the country is ready for a change. And I think we need to implement it with a shock immediately. If we wait a little bit, all the resistant forces will be ready to fight. So I think that's why we are going to have a meeting now in 1 hour and a half. Everybody is eager to really write the reforms for the first day on December 10th, Milei to implement them. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Eduardo, that this has to be done quickly across the board, lest they be easy targets for resistance, each of the reforms, right? Now, Adam, any final remarks? There's, I want to speak for a whole hour. We scheduled this for half an hour that maybe we've not touched upon about what this means. I mean, both you have been, you two have been in the trenches for many years, and I assume you realize, I mean, as Eduardo would say, it's almost like the fight has just begun. What's next for you in your engagement, Adam? Or are you purely working as a financial advisor role these days?
Yeah, well, I'm not involved in politics right now, but I think there is going to be a big task of trying to explain those who have reach in social media, in the traditional media, to explain how these measures or libertarian measures will impact on people, and explain them clearly. Not only what the measures are going to be, but also what is the how do you say it, is the heritage, all the baggage that comes with the current government and leaves it to the next government. So that's going to be an important task. And but I guess I think that if Milei starts applying these measures and people start seeing the results, this will open the door for him to move forward and advance with the following proposals that he has made.
Yeah, Eduardo, are there any free or FRI events coming up that people could go to?
We created a club, Read to Lead, where we meet once a month and to discuss papers, and we invite guests. This Friday will be here Rainer Zitelmann, the German guy I mentioned, who wrote several books about capitalism, and he was the one predicting the victory of Milei, saying that the youth of Argentina understands free market economics better, the number 5th in the world. So I think that our efforts really were well received. And that's Rainer Zitelmann. In December, we will have here in Argentina Stephen Hicks explaining really where the world is coming, and artificial intelligence, and also this new technology that is changing the world and will be changing the world soon. So we better move in Argentina, because if we don't want to lose the trend, right, where we are going. Before we leave, Adam, please call me. I want to invest with you.
Sure. Sure. We'll talk later.
So yeah, there's, as you said, Eduardo, you don't want Argentina to be basically just passed by. You don't want the world to pass her by. To just that's the concern I have, that Argentina has been almost lost while everyone else has just moved ahead. And there's one saying we have in English. I suspect there's a Spanish translation. You can vote your way into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out. So once they get in, you have to almost like fight a war to get out. So I'm hopeful. I hope you don't have to use too much violence to get out of this. So that's, if that is the case, then your labors in the intellectual world are paying dividends incredibly, which is a great news. So people go to frilatam.org. We'll have this all posted on impunityobserver.org, the website. And so otherwise, I just want to say thank you to our esteemed guests, and I wish you well in your endeavors to come in these coming weeks, okay?
Come to visit us, Fergus. Thank you for your job.
Thank you, Fergus.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Ciao. Ciao.